Officer Brett Robinson is suing 23-year-old student Anissa Davis for filing a false complaint with his department. Anissa is countersuing for emotional distress due to malicious prosecution.
Yeah, this is case number 85 on the calendar in the matter of Robinson versus Davis.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
You are a police officer, sir, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where are you a police officer?
Los Angeles Police Department.
How long have you been a police officer?
19 years.
According to what I've read, you gave the defendant a traffic ticket, and that traffic ticket was for speeding?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the speed that she was traveling, and what was the zone?
She was traveling 58 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone.
Your complaint states that subsequent to giving her a ticket, she wrote a letter, or a series of letters, one to your captain, one to the chief, complaining about the treatment she received from you. And as a result of those letters, there was an investigation, and while there was a finding of no fault, I assume, is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Those letters will remain in your file, and you want to be compensated because you said everything that she said about you was a lie.
That's true.
So first I have to find out from Ms. Davis, I'd like to see from you a copy of the letter that you sent to Officer Robinson's superiors. Now, can you also please identify who your witnesses are?
I am my father, James Davis, and my mother, Winnie Davis.
Okay. And neither of them were present during the course of this
No, they weren't.
incident, is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. And your father, from what I gather from your answer, as well as from Officer Robinson's complaint, is a retired police officer, is that right?
Yes.
All right. Now, Ms. Davis, I would like you to start from the beginning.
Okay.
The very beginning,
Your Honor,
and tell me what happened when Officer Robinson stopped you.
Well, I would like to start off by saying that it has nothing to do with the actual citation. I wrote the letter about expressing my feelings to the police department about the way that I was treated and how I felt.
Why don't you just answer my question? I asked you to tell me what happened from the moment that he pulled you over for speeding.
Okay.
Good.
He pulled me over and he told me that I was allegedly going too fast.
Pulled you over,
Mm-hmm.
and he said to you, what were his words?
I don't remember his exact
What
words.
did you say to him?
Hello. I rolled down my window. He asked for my license and registration.
Did you have your license?
Yes, I did.
Did you have your registration?
Yes, I did.
Fine. So he took the license, and what did he do with it?
He proceeded to tell me what he stopped me for, and he went back to his car.
No, I don't want you to tell me. He proceeded to tell me what he stopped me for. He said something to you. I stopped you for speeding. You were going 58 miles in a 40-hour zone. What did he
Yes.
say to you, Miss Davis?
I'm sorry, I'm
He
just very nervous.
Well, get unnervous. Did he say to you, I'm giving you a ticket because you were speeding?
Yes.
Fine. And what did you say to him?
I asked him if he knew my father.
And what did he say to you?
He said he knew exactly who my father was.
You said to him, do you know who my father is? And he must have said to you, who's your father?
Yes.
And you said?
Jim Davis.
And he said, I know exactly who your father
He said,
is.
yes, he's a retired police officer. Yes, he did. That's what he said.
No, what did he say to you? Did he say, I know he's a retired police
said,
officer, or did he say, I know
He said,
exactly
yes,
who your father
he's a
is?
retired police officer. I know exactly who he is.
Fine. And then what did he do?
He went back to his motorcycle to continue writing my ticket.
And what did you do?
I looked for my insurance.
Did you find it?
Yes.
And did you, at some point, get out of the car?
Yes.
Was it before or after you found your insurance?
Probably during. I made a phone call on my cell phone.
Who did you make a phone call to?
To my father.
What for?
Because I was nervous about the way I was being treated.
So far you have been treated perfectly.
Yeah, but...
So far you have been treated perfectly, professionally and perfectly. So
I'm
what did you
talking
call
about-
your father for?
Because I wanted to ask him a question.
What question did you want to ask him?
About my insurance, because I had just gotten a new insurance card because my car had been broken into, so I
Perfectly
called.
reasonable. So when you got your father on the phone, what did you say to him?
I told him that I had just been stopped by a police officer for speeding, and he said, can I talk to the officer? So at that point, with the insurance in my hand, I got out of the car, and I went up to him, and I asked him if I could ask him something, and he put his hand up in my face.
No, 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 you didn't say that to him at all. Don't give me baloney. You said, my father wants to talk to you.
No, I said, can my father talk to you? Can I?
Right, that's
Yes.
exactly what you said. Can my father talk to you? Don't leave that out. And he put his hand up in your face and said what?
He said, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to anybody. Go to your car. He didn't want to discuss anything further with
Sounds
me.
perfectly right to me. Doesn't it sound perfectly right to you, former retired police officer Davis? That requires a simple yes or no. Is anything
Yes,
that your
ma'am.
daughter said to you sound untoward on the part of this officer?
She's left a couple of things out.
No, you weren't there.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
You weren't there. So if you were me, and you've been around the ballpark a little bit, if you were me listening to your daughter right now, would you find anything untoward in this police officer's conduct?
Only the part about he didn't want to talk to her and go have a seat in the car.
No. What she said was she wanted him to talk to you, and you were going to try to talk him out of giving your daughter a ticket.
That's not true. Your Honor.
Absolutely, positively, 100%. As I'm sitting here and he's standing there.
Not anymore.
Speak. Listen to me. Speak not. Otherwise, there is absolutely no reason for you to have.
May I say something?
Called. Say nothing, sir. Don't embarrass yourself.
I won't.
You will. Believe me, you will. You will embarrass yourself because that is exactly what happened. She called you on the phone and she said, I'm going to get a speeding ticket. And you said, let me speak to the guy. That's what your daughter told me.
That's not correct.
Well, that's what your daughter just told me. You mean she's lying? She said to me, my father said, let me talk to him. And I got out of the car holding my insurance card in my hand with the phone, and she walked over to him and said to him, my father wants to talk to you. And he put up his hand and he said, I don't want to talk to you, and I don't want to talk to your father. That's what she just told me. I didn't make that up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know why you called your father, and the fact that he wouldn't respond to it is to his credit.
But the fact is that he did not want to continue to talk to me.
He doesn't have to talk to you. You want to talk to somebody, go to a psychiatrist.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Police officer Brett Robinson says after giving Anissa Davis a speeding ticket, she filed a false complaint with his department.
Go ahead.
She left out part of the phone conversation, which I was privileged to. When she asked me, she told me she got stopped for speeding. And I asked her, I said, did he use a radar? Did he follow you? Did he estimate your speed? What did he do? And she said, I don't know. And I said, get out of the car and ask him. She came back 2 seconds later and said, he said it was not radar. And I said, fine. And she said, would you like to talk to him? And I said, if he'll talk to me, I'll talk to him.
Listen to me, sir. Those are questions that are left for a court. You know that, and I know that. The way to fight a ticket is to go to a hearing and ask just the questions that you wanted her to ask this officer when he was giving her a ticket. He is under no obligation whatsoever to provide that information. And you know that as a former police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, he did nothing untoward. Nothing. And she had no right to write a letter. None. Now you may be seated. Now I'm going to ask you some other things. Who wrote the letter?
I did. Your
With
Honor.
whose help?
With my mother and father.
Right.
But I wrote the letter with my thoughts and my ideas.
Your
My
thoughts and your
feelings.
ideas. Listen to me. I want you to understand something. I've been around the ballpark a long time. How did I know that you did not write this letter by yourself?
I'm an educated college student. I don't know why
Well,
why I wouldn't be able to
Because
write
I
this
could
letter.
tell that you didn't write it yourself. That's how. Come. I could tell you didn't write it yourself. It may have been your thoughts or your ideas, but the words weren't all yours. So that comes out of vindictiveness. He was annoyed that this officer gave his daughter a ticket and would not get on the phone with him because, after all, he should have done it as a courtesy. And he didn't.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Yeah, it's true.
I
It's
did-
absolutely true. And you did the wrong thing because you were a spoiled brat driving a little bit too fast and you got stopped, and your father, I don't know if he's ever gotten you out of difficulty before, but you figured, while I'm looking for my insurance card, I'm going to call my father. There was no reason for that because you had the insurance card in your hand. You had any questions for your father, you ask him the questions after you get the ticket when you get home. There was no reason to call him then. Absolutely none. So you know why you called your father. I know why you called your father. He knows why you called your father, and the fact that he wouldn't respond to it is to his credit. that you got no more of a favor than anybody else that he might have stopped.
But the fact is that he did not want to continue to talk to me.
He doesn't have to talk to you. You want to talk to somebody, go to a psychiatrist. He doesn't have to talk to you. He's giving you a ticket.
To someone who's a police officer, who I look up to, who is on duty in uniform.
Please.
Someone who I look up to and I respect, and who doesn't want to even talk to me after that whole incident.
Let me explain something to you, madam. He doesn't want to be pressured. And before you got out of the car with your cell phone, with your father on the line, he said nothing untoward to you, according to you, and even according to your father. It wasn't until after you made the phone call, according to you, that he put his hand up in your face and refused to talk to you. And he doesn't have to talk to you. That's what you go to therapy for. His responsibility is to give you a ticket, to say, quiet, and to say license, registration. I am giving you a ticket for speeding. I'm speaking. Now you're not so nervous anymore. You're interrupting the judge. I'm giving you a ticket for speeding. You were going 58 miles in a 40-hour zone. Here is your ticket. You can respond to it. You can plead guilty. You can plead not guilty. That's it. Other than that, he has to say diddly squat to you. So he acts totally professionally. License, registration, proof of insurance. Thank you very much. Have a seat in your car. You don't like it? You go home, you pick up the phone, you call your therapist, and you say, I had a very bad day today. I need an appointment. I need to vent for an hour. You don't write a letter to his superiors. Now, my question to you, sir, is you've been very quiet. The reason I started with her first is because what's the point in listening to you? I wanted to find out what she was complaining about.
Yes, sure.
Now, you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes,
I want to know what you're going to do with this $5,000 if you get it.
I really hadn't had any plans for that yet. What I wanted to ask you, or what I wanted to tell you earlier, is that what she put in the letter obviously is completely untrue, and I have proof of that. I have a tape recording of the conversation that occurred between Miss Davis and myself. What she has told her father, what she has told you, and what she has told the station is completely untrue.
Oh, I would like to hear that. You mean it's even worse?
Can I respond to
Well,
that?
Absolutely not.
So what's on the tape and what you've read in the letter is night and day.
Go ahead.
Afternoon. I'm Officer Robinson with LAPD. Three things. The first one is I got your speed here on Wilbur with a laser at 58. Speeding at 40. And then I also noticed that your left brake light is out and you stepped on the brakes and it's going behind you. Do you have your license with you?
Do you have a transcript?
Yes, I do.
Can I see the transcript,
Yes, you
please?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
First of all, I had no clue that he had this. This is the first time I've heard of it. And but he has control to start, stop, and alter any part of this tape.
I want to read what you say. I mean, that's your voice, right? He didn't get somebody to dub your voice.
No, I'm saying, but
Good.
he has the option as his recorder to...
Quiet. Initially, when he said, do you have your license with you? You know what you responded to him? I do, which I heard there. Oh, wow. My dad's a policeman, too, and I'm having the worst time of all.
Oh, wow.
With my finals, I don't know if this matters at all. My dad works with you. Oh, Miss Davis, do you live on Brimer? Yes. Who is your father? Sergeant Davis. He works for Valley Traffic. He's a sergeant, too. Is he a motorcycle officer? Yes, he is. What's his first name? You say Jim Davis. Officer. Yeah, your dad's retired. I know who your dad is, but he's retired. It doesn't matter whether he's working or retired. You're responsible for your own driving. You say your vehicle is registered. What year is it? It's a 95. All right. All right. He says to you, wait right here. I'll be right with you. And then you say to him, my dad wants to talk to you for a second. I'm not going to talk and handle your phone. Why don't you go ahead and wait over there by your vehicle or in your vehicle?
Can I add that he put his hand in my face and said, I'm not talking to your dad, I'm not talking to you, go to your vehicle?
I'm holding a ticket book in my left hand.
Just a second, so what?
And a pen in my
Just
right.
a minute. So
You had your ticket book.
So listen to me.
Pen.
So what?
To me, a man in uniform, someone who works for the Los Angeles Police Department, should not be putting a hand in my face.
You're a big baby.
No.
You're a big baby. I don't know how many times your father's gotten you out of scrapes before. This time, he couldn't, and you got annoyed, and so did he.
This had nothing to do with the citation.
Listen to me. Can't you get this through your head? He did nothing wrong. You did. First you were speeding, and then you tried to get out of the ticket by telling him that your father was a police officer. You did something wrong. And then when you got the ticket anyway, you wrote a letter, and your father, maybe because he has nothing better to do, and your mother, I don't know what she does, participated in authoring this letter, which is going to sit in his personnel file, and it's wrong. And you owe him an apology. So stop defending your behavior. You owe him an apology.
And I didn't write the letter for the citation. He's doing this for retaliation for personal gain. He's suing me for $5,000 because I'm expressing my feelings to the department about how he lacks.
You've been living in L.A. too long.
No, actually,
I think you ought to go live someplace else. You've been living in L.A. too long.
Actually,
now I want you to be. Now I want you to be quiet because I'm speaking. For somebody who's nervous, you talk pretty well. So I want you to be quiet. My question to you, officer, it's worse than what I thought, because she tried to influence you through her father immediately on being stopped. It wasn't later on, as she has indicated, but it was immediate.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? What I'm asking you, Officer Robinson, is you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
She's got a counterclaim, ridiculous counterclaim, because for $5,000, punitive damages and emotional distress due to malicious prosecution.
And
she's operating in La La Land someplace.
I have copies of all of my medical and psychiatric things right here when you're...
Listen, shh. Hey, quiet. Listen to me. You were wrong. Get it through your head. Madam, you were wrong. Your counterclaim is dismissed. All I'm asking you is,
citation.
What do you plan on doing with the $5,000? Are you planning on keeping it, or is there a charitable organization through the LAPD that you would like to donate this money to? If I give you the money, now that I've told her she is, whether she gets it or not, 150% out of line. She had no right to write the letter. He had no right to participate in writing the letter. He should have asked the same questions I did. He should have known that his daughter did the wrong thing by bringing up his name when she got stopped for a ticket. Maybe her mother doesn't understand enough to tell her that she did the wrong thing, to encourage this kind of irresponsible behavior. But I'm going to ask you, what do you want to do with the money?
Well, I think I would like to donate to the Police Memorial Foundation.
That sounds just fine. I'm entering a judgment for $5,000. But since I believe that Ms. Davis maligned the police department as well as you, $2,500 of that will go to the LAPD Memorial Foundation, $2,500 to you. Thank you very much. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. Yeah, this is case number 116 on the calendar in the matter of Hinton versus Harbor Estrada. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
How old are you, Mr. Hinton?
19.
What's your first name?
Sammy?
Sammy, what's your last name?
Harbor.
Sammy used to be your girlfriend.
Yes.
This is her mom.
Yes, ma'am.
What you're complaining about is, while Sammy was your girlfriend, you claim to have loaned her some stereo equipment for her car.
Yes.
And you want it back.
Yes.
Sammy says you didn't loan her anything. You made her a gift of the stereo equipment for her car. And in addition, that you've been making a real pest of yourself, harassing her. You broke into her car, took back a piece of the equipment that you claim to have loaned her, an amplifier. Is that right, Sammy?
Yes.
Is that right, Mr. Hinton?
No.
Did you take back an amplifier?
No, Your Honor.
Who did? Anybody you know?
I've never heard nothing about it.
Mr. Hinton, let's not play with each other. Do you have the amplifier back?
No, Your Honor.
They also say that you broke into the house,
It's not correct.
killed our goldfish, calling, sending emails, making a general pest of yourself. And they're countersuing. So tell me how it came about that you gave her this stereo equipment.
Well, we broke up May of 2002. We remained friends, and in August she came over and wanted to borrow all that equipment. We were still friends, and I had plenty of it, so I let her borrow it. And she wanted to borrow the amplifier.
Tell me what she said to you.
She said, "Can I borrow it?"
Can I borrow what? Mr. Hinton?
Can I borrow the speakers, the amplifier, 212s, 210s? And she just bought a new car. She wanted to put it in there. And she said she'd give it back once her mother bought her some new ones.
She'd give it back once her mother bought her some new ones.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said, yes. We're still
Well, what would
friends.
happen, Mr. Hinton, if her mother never bought her new ones?
Well, she'd eventually give it back.
You didn't have that discussion.
Well, she said her mother would buy her new ones.
That's not what you said to me, Mr. Hinton. You got to be very careful, sir. You got to get up real early in the morning. If I believed what you say, she said, can I borrow yours or can I have yours until my mother buys me my own?
She said, can I borrow yours until my mother buys me some more?
Right. Okay, let's say she said that to you.
And...
Shh, listen to me. Let's say she said that to you.
All right.
Let me explain a contract to you, Mr. Hinton. Because what you're suing on is a verbal contract. A loan. A loan has to have an offer and acceptance and some possibility, an offer, which means you offered to loan her the equipment. She accepted the offer to borrow the equipment, according to you. That's not what she's going to tell me, but according to you. And then there has to be an event that's going to happen that causes the equipment to go back. Do you understand? An event like May 2nd, June 6th, on Bird's birthday, on my birthday, on your birthday, the equipment's going to go back. In your case, what you told me is she told you that the equipment would go back to you when her mother bought her new equipment. Do you understand?
Yes.
And my question to you is, what happens if her mother never buys her new equipment? That means you never get your equipment back. Do you understand the terms of the contract, sir?
Yes, but a few months I called her back and she said she'd send it back with her mother when she came to Albuquerque. And then I waited, her mother never showed up. I called again, she gave me the same runaround. So then the third time I called, she said, if you want your stuff, come get it yourself. And she lives about 3 hours away from me. So I drive down there, I stay at a friend's house, Las Cruces, which is about 70 miles from there.
Shh, don't interrupt him.
Which is about 70 miles from there. And I call her in the morning before she goes to school. She says, come get it at 3:30. I said, all right. I go over there, I call her house, nobody's home. I call again after I drive around, still nobody's there. So I go to her school.
You're putting me to sleep, you know that.
I go to her school, and I see her car there. I'm parked out there in the parking lot, and I see her grandparents. They drive up to my car saying, what are you doing here? We don't want you here. We don't want you around Sammy Joe. I say, Sammy Joe told me to come get my stuff. I'm here to get it. Then they give me saying that I stole stuff from her, CDs, tapes from a 70-year-old woman and man. I don't think I listen to that kind of music. And then I say, can you just go ask Sammy Joe if she has my stuff so I can get out of this town? They park next to a gray car. They come back, and the gray car comes circling around me, like the guys in the car throwing their hands up, yelling and wanting to fight. The grandparents are all, look, they don't want you in this town, you better leave. I said, what did Sammy Joe say? He said, your equipment's in her boyfriend's car, and you're not getting it back. Your Honor, her boyfriend don't even have a car. So at that point, I was frustrated. I went home, and I received these emails from her, some very vulgar emails, if you'd like to read them.
I would certainly like to read them.
And in...
Mr. Hinton, how old was Sammy when you gave her the equipment?
15.
See, that's another problem you have, Mr. Hinton, because what you are suing on in court is a contract, right?
Yes.
Because a contract can be written or it can be verbal. You didn't have a written contract. With her, it was verbal, right?
But my witness was there when she said about it.
You're not paying attention to me, sir. You're paying attention to what's going on in your own head. What we're talking about here is a verbal contract, which has the same force and effect as a written contract, right? Except you have to be 18. Because a minor can't enter into a binding contract. Now read the emails. Well, this has, although this has to do with your lack of sexual prowess, sir, this has nothing to do with the, this has absolutely nothing to do with the stereo equipment. It's interesting.
This one, right?
Listen to me. It's interesting, but it has absolutely nothing to do with this case. So while I found it sort of salty, dear, I won't even show it to your mother.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you ever been incarcerated?
No.
Would you like to be incarcerated?
No.
There is a strong possibility that if you don't leave these people alone, you're going to find yourself incarcerated.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jacob Hinton says ex-girlfriend 16-year-old Sammy Jo Harbor owes for the return of a car stereo. Sammy Jo says Jacob won't stop harassing her.
Now I'll read the other one. Thanks, Byrd. What is this?
It's a letter my grandmother wrote.
I'm not interested in a letter that your grandmother wrote, sir.
Asking her about whether or not I let her borrow it or not. And she says, in the highlighted, she clearly writes that she's going to return it.
Talk about a PlayStation here.
Yeah, in her counterclaim, she says she bought the whole PlayStation, which she did not. In that, she says she did not.
Get with the issue, Mr. Hinton. The issue is the stereo equipment for the car. Now, Sammy, how old are you, dear?
16.
First of all, I'm going to suggest that there's a very good lesson to you. Don't put things in writing that you don't want other people to read. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you have some emails to show me that he sent to you?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them.
Are you sure?
Am I sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are from one of his friends from Albuquerque.
I don't want to read emails from his friends.
Well, from him and him telling this
Just
girl.
a second. Would you return these to him? I don't have time to read a tome. If I wanted to read a good book, I would buy a good book. Get me the emails from him.
There's one in the back.
And don't aggravate me. My voice is going today. Thanks, Byrd. I guess you're not going into the ministry either. You know that there are other four-letter words in the English language like love and like and...
Like?
And bike, right? Bike, right? Joke. Dumb. It's a four-letter word that comes to mind.
Hate.
Hate. No. Dumb. No. Doesn't hate. He's 19. He was 18. He was 17 when he was involved with your daughter. They have raging hormones. You know, their best friend isn't their mind.
No.
If you know what I mean.
Not by
Both of them.
I know.
Both of them. Their best friend isn't their brain. Sometimes it stays that way.
Hopefully not.
All right, but I don't want to deal with this anymore. Mr. Hinton, you gave her the stereo equipment. Get over it. Stop crying. Stop fetching. Now, what proof do you have that he broke into your house and your harassment, the emails that you're talking about, the emails that he wrote to her?
Yeah.
You ought to read hers.
I have. Yes.
Well, so stop. I don't want any fetching about the emails. I want to know what proof that you have that he broke into your house.
During the time that we were together, which is approximately 2 years, he was over at my house a lot, and I have 2 dogs, and they don't let strangers into our yard and our house area. And we had just moved here, and they're not going to let anybody they don't know into our yard. And they broke into my room specifically, and he's the only one that had been in my house and knows what room.
That's not proof good enough for a court.
Ma'am,
Unless your mother has some other proof.
the neighbor across the street saw a vehicle.
Be more than
like
happy to
his.
hear the neighbor.
Well,
That's not
this
the neighbor.
isn't the neighbor.
That's
This
not
is the boy that was there that she was a witness to when he gave her the equipment, but,
I need a witness.
okay.
Not you telling me what a witness is going to tell me. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you have any proof?
An email where he admitted stealing the CDs out of the car.
That if he admitted,
Go get it.
to shut. Hey, if you have an email where he acknowledges that he stole property out of her car, I will read it.
We didn't bring it, but we do have it. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you had the email, I would read it.
Okay.
That's a confession. It's a
Yes,
written
ma'am.
confession. And then I would show it to him. Confront him with it. Anything else?
Well, we're countersuing for the harassment, too. Not only did
What harassment?
calling, coming by, we asked him not to call our house. He threatened her. He broke into my house, which you say I can't prove. That's fine. He claimed his grandmother, which you have that email, said that he says my son let him into our house at that date. My son was gone to a barrel race with me.
I never said that.
Listen to me. Let's get over it. When was the last contact your daughter had with him?
The day that he took me up into
He
the
kidnapped
mountains
her.
when we had gone.
Give me the date.
It was before I had gotten the speaker equipment. And he had given me the speaker equipment as...
As a witness.
Give me the date.
It's September.
September of '02.
About there, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So the last
That's after I gave you the... That's after I said I gave it to her in August.
It was August or September.
I'm asking you
Now
a
you-
question. The last contact you had with him was in September of
No, ma'am.
2002?
August.
Except for when he
Except for
came
his
to our
grandmother.
house.
When was that?
He came in February to...
February of '03.
Yes,
And we
ma'am.
went to her house.
Shh. Hey,
He came in February of '03.
since then, has he contacted you?
He calls and hangs up.
You can't prove that.
Caller ID.
Then I think that you should file a police report.
They told me to at our local county.
Well,
They
then that's
wanted
what
me
you ought to do.
throw him
File
in
a police
jail.
report because that's aggravated harassment
Yes,
if he's
ma'am.
doing it. You have him arrested for that. Good.
Yes,
That's what
ma'am.
you ought to do. But other than that, he hasn't come around. Is that right? Since February?
No, ma'am,
Good.
until we got
Perfect.
this notice.
Perfect. Mr. Hinton, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Have you ever been incarcerated?
No.
Would you like to be incarcerated?
No.
There is a strong possibility, that if you don't leave these people alone, you're going to find yourself incarcerated. Now, I know that 19 sounds like, you still got years to go before you develop. But in the eyes of the law, you're a grown-up. And this kind of kid stuff is not kid stuff anymore. Calling, hanging up, having somebody else call, hang up, sending stupid emails that may not be threatening, but just put your hand down, madam. It's all stupid because it can get you into trouble. It's over with Sammy Joe. The love affair is over. She doesn't want to have any part of you anymore. The only part that she wants to have of you is the stereo equipment that you let her borrow until her mother got her new stuff. By the way, did you ever get her new stereo equipment?
No, ma'am.
Well, then the eventuality, even if she could make a contract, never came to pass. So I'm going to suggest that you devote your time to going to school, maybe take a business course in contracts. But leave her alone. Now, Semi,
Yes.
sometimes young girls, even though they don't want to have anything to do with exes anymore, like to feel as if they still have their attention. That better not be so in this case, because if you write him, call him, contact him, tell a friend you'd like to see him, whatever it is, it's not very smart. You let Mr. Hinton and his hormones grow up. You got it? Now, it's been many months since there has been contact between the two of you. The longer that goes, the better off you both are. So you have February, March, April, May, June, July. Months. It's over. You have a new girlfriend?
No.
Listen, Mr. Hinton,
What?
find one. What are you doing with your life?
Nothing.
You go to school
Yes, Your Honor.
5 days a week?
2.
For what?
Medical school.
You go to medical school 2 days a week? In what country? I want to stay away from that country. What kind of medical school do you go to 2 days a week, sir?
TVI.
What are they teaching you to do?
Be a radiology technician.
That's good. That's not medical school, by the way. You're learning to be a radiology technician. Why only 2 days a week?
That's full time.
Do you live at home?
Yes.
Why aren't you working?
I haven't found a job.
What?
I haven't found a job.
How hard are you looking?
Not really hard.
You still in school?
I just graduated.
And what are you doing?
I start college in Las Cruces in August.
Good. Say goodbye to each other. Hopefully you're not going to see each other again. Right? Good. Don't email them. Don't call them. Don't contact them. Sir, forget her number. You got it?
It's already forgotten, Your Honor.
Good. And if you're smart, you change your number. You don't want him to call. Change your number. You run a business out of the house?
No, ma'am.
Good. Change your number. Bye.
Professional cameraman William Spadero wants one-time date beautician Ann Smith to pay medical bills for a bitten finger. Ann is countersuing, claiming she was raped.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 73 on the calendar in the matter of Spadaro versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Well, the complaint and the answer in this case that I have is rather lengthy. So let me see if I understand the gist of it. You, sir, met the defendant in a nail salon where I assume you work?
Hair salon.
Hair salon. And you dated a couple of times.
Correct.
On one of those dates, you borrowed his jacket. Is that right?
Correct, but there was no dating.
Where did you borrow his jacket? Where were you when you borrowed his jacket?
At his house.
You were just there for what?
Visiting, then leaving. We had lunch.
Okay, you didn't think of it as dating?
No.
Did you think of it as dating?
Yes.
A date is when you make an arrangement with a woman and then you come to pick her up as a gentleman would.
That's if you're in 1969 or 1972, in 1998. I don't know if you go pick up ladies anymore. My children tell me that you make arrangements to meet someplace.
Correct.
So that nobody has to be inconvenienced.
Correct.
In any event, you were at the house, you borrowed his jacket, you took it home. There came a time he wanted his jacket back. You decided to go to the house to return his jacket.
Correct.
Then you claim you were assaulted. Why don't you tell me about that?
Yes, Your Honor. I was expecting to get the jacket back. She says, yes, I'll bring it back. So she came over to the house, and I was watching TV at the time. She says, why don't you turn off the television? So I said, well, I really like this show. And so she says, no, just turn it off. So we turned off the TV. I had a feeling she wanted to become a little more amorous. I said, okay, because I can't remember if at that point in time she had presented the jacket. I don't think at that point in time she had. I think she said she was going to bring the jacket. She didn't have the jacket with her then. So I wanted to try to appease matters, and we got into a little more of a physical situation. We ended up becoming intimate, and during, or immediately after the intimacy,
No, I said no.
she had
I'm going to
said-
give you your chance to tell me your story. Go ahead.
She had said, is there any way we can, develop more of a relationship? And I said, I really don't think that we're compatible enough to work on a relationship. We've been out a couple times, and I really don't feel any chemistry. So at this point in time, she left my bed, and at the bottom of the bed, she said, I'm not a whore. And I said, I never said you were. She said, if I yelled rape right now, there's nothing you could do about it. I said, you're absolutely correct. There's nothing I could do about it. So at this point in time, she walked into my bathroom, and she started screaming rape. I mean, to the top of her lungs. I mean, she's screaming it. And I'm just beside myself. I go, what do I do with this? So adjacent to my bathroom is my second bedroom. So I go into my second bedroom, and I called the operator. I said, could you give me the phone number of the North Hollywood Police Department? She said, what do you need? And I said, do you hear this in the background? And she's screaming rape. So she gives me the number, and I call North Hollywood Police Department. I said, get a car over here. This lady is irate. I don't know what's going to happen here. Please send somebody. So at this point in time, she'd left the bathroom, and she had walked into my living room. And she was calm. She'd sat down on my couch for a while, and then she got up, and she started screaming rape again. And I said, just a matter of time. I go, why don't you just calm down? Why don't you just leave? Why don't you leave? I'm going to give you the freedom to leave. She goes, you didn't call the police. I said, yes, I did. They're going to be here momentarily. At that point in time, she picked up this statue and was going to throw it. Now, I've got a widescreen television, and adjacent to the widescreen television, I've got a grandfather clock. And I was afraid of something happening to that. So I grabbed this, and I set this down on the table, and she swings at me. So I grab her hands. I said, there's only going to be a couple minutes, before the cops are going to be here. I know I'll be okay.
So I'm struggling with her, and I bring her down to the ground. We're in front of my front window. I'm holding her hands because I know the officers are going to be here. We'll get this thing resolved. And she says, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. So it was either just prior to that or after I released the grip on her hands, she reached over and bit my hand. And I mean, it was enough. I couldn't get my hand away. And then she let go. Then I noticed at the front window the officers, and they said, stand up and put your hands up. So I stand up and I put up my hands, open up the front door. He grabs me, and he cuffs me on my porch. 2 female officers walk into the house to sit with the defendant. So I'm standing out on the porch, and they're asking me what happened. And I ran down the situation, and the female officer comes out and says, you know, she wants to have you arrested. You want to have her arrested? And I said, no, I just want her out of my house. That's all I ever wanted, was just to have her out of my house. And she goes, okay, I'll go back in and see what happens. So they're in probably another 10 minutes, and then they all walk out. And at this point in time, the officer takes the cuffs off me. But prior to that, the one officer said, she's been drinking, and she needs to have a ride home. Can she call somebody? And I said, yes. And that's accounting now for the variability in her actions. I mean, she was real mellow when she first got to my house, and then became extremely irate. And they asked me, had you been drinking? And I said, no, I haven't had anything to drink. So she called someone to come and get her.
Is that the assault, sir?
Correct.
The assault was when she bit you?
Correct.
Okay. Did you ever get your jacket back?
Yes, I did.
How?
I called a friend of mine who's an attorney. He says, appease her. He says, call her and see if you can get your jacket back. So I called her, and she starts screaming to me on the phone. She hangs up. A couple minutes later, she calls me again. She goes, were you the one that just called me?
Back before that.
And I said, yes. You know, I'm the one that just called you. She said, okay. She goes, so we start talking. I said, why don't we just mellow this out? Why don't you just bring me my jacket, and we'll work this out. So she did eventually.
What kind of jacket was this, sir, that was worth?
Little flimsy jacket.
That was worth you were making another phone call to her.
It was the last jacket I had from a company that I've been with for 20 years.
What do you mean? Was it a specialty jacket?
Yeah. I mean, it had the logo on the back of the jacket, and I wanted that jacket. It was important. It was the very last item that I had received from that company.
You were almost arrested and incarcerated, sir, because of something that she said. It would seem to me if you used your brains, you would say, I must have a picture of myself in that jacket. That's going to suffice. In any event, that's what you're talking about, the bite to your hand. Do you have medical records?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. May I approach?
No.
Oh.
Okay. What was the date of this incident, sir?
December 20th. I had let a couple days go by, and I called a physician friend and said, could you take a look at my hand? It's been bleeding, and it's getting enlarged.
Bit it yourself.
Shh. And he says, where were you bitten? I said, on my hand. He
Don't
said,
tell me what your friend said.
Okay, I want you to get to emergency.
All right, so you got to emergency. I see, 6 days later.
He said I could lose my hand. That's why I went down.
I'm not interested in what he told you. That's hearsay.
Physician.
So?
That's
you have a bill. That's important.
Correct.
The bill is important. What somebody said to you outside of court is not relevant and inadmissible.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Then you have to think with what's up here, not what's down here.
You don't have to go. I understand.
And you say, thank you very much for my jacket. Goodbye.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 40-year-old cameraman William Spadero is suing for medical bills, claiming 37-year-old Ann Smith bit him. Ann says he forced himself on her, and she was defending herself.
Now, Miss Smith, he's told me his story. Why don't you tell me your version of it?
I went over to return his jacket December the 20th. Must have been approximately 8:30. And when I went in, I don't remember if he was watching TV or not, but he immediately stood up to be friendly and cordial to me. And he had the fireplace going, and we started talking. I don't remember whether he turned off the television or not. The point was that we ended up getting a little bit friendlier than we should have, and then I said no. And he went ahead.
What do you mean he got...
When I, you know, being intimate, hugging and kissing or whatever. And then I said, no, I don't want to have sex with you. And he decided that he was so excited he would just do it anyway. And after he was done, I said, you know, you didn't use a condom, you didn't anything. And so, and I was in tears. I started crying. And then he says, no, this is it. This is it. You have to leave right now. Immediately, you have to leave. And I said, I want to go to the restroom and I want to clean myself because, I could be pregnant or anything. I want to go to the bathroom and I want to clean myself up so I can leave as a dignified woman. And he said, no, you're not. You're leaving right now. He grabbed my shoulder as I went into the bathroom, very firmly placing it on my shoulder and trying to pull me out of his bathroom, treating me as though, I was, some kind of dog. Just throw me right out. Do whatever you want and throw me right out. Then he goes to the back room. He says, no, you're leaving right now. And he goes back and he picks up the telephone. And I don't know who he was calling, but he said he's calling the police. And I thought, how can he do this? I mean, how can he do something like this to a woman? Then now he's going to call the police on her after he's done that to her? So I started screaming rape. Because when a woman says no, that means no.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is that you didn't start to yell rape until after he got on the phone.
He called the police.
Until after he got on the phone. Well, what were you yelling rape for?
Well, because he's playing games with me. He won't let me clean up so that I can leave his house, and yet he wants to call the police on me.
But I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense.
No, what you did doesn't make sense. First of all, I read your answer. Your answer said you were on your way out for an evening with your boyfriend, and you decided to go over that evening beforehand and return his jacket.
Yes.
And that was about 8:30.
Right.
And what time are you supposed to meet your boyfriend?
10:30.
So you left yourself 2 hours.
Right.
And you got there, and according to you...
Because we were friends, somewhat. Excuse me.
According to you, there was some hugging, some kissing, some fondling, some whatever. Right? I mean, you're there to return a jacket.
Right.
At this point, I don't hear anything about no rape, anything else. What bothered me about your response here...
But I said no.
What bothered me, that's what you say now. What bothered me about the response and and what you say to me now is that I can understand that if that's what happened to you, going into the bathroom and starting to scream rape so that you can get help or trying to get out as soon as you can, that I absolutely understand.
He was trying to...
But you just told me that you were angry because he wouldn't let you go into the bathroom and clean up.
He wouldn't even let me clean myself up after he did that to me.
Something doesn't sound right, Miss Smith. It just doesn't make sense to me. The conversation that he says that took place... Pay careful attention to my question. The conversation about possible future relationship you say never took place when you were lying in bed? That conversation...
We weren't lying in bed together. It wasn't like that. It wasn't, it wasn't like that. We weren't laying there having some torrid affair. It wasn't like that.
How did you get in from, how many rooms do you have, sir?
His bed stands up about this high.
What?
We're leaning.
2 bedrooms.
You have 2 bedrooms.
Correct.
So you came in, fireplace. Where's the fireplace?
In the living room.
In the living room. All right. Would you explain to me how you got from the living room into the bedroom?
We walked in there together.
What did you think you were going into the bedroom for?
He was showing me something on the wall. He has pictures on the wall. He has certificates on the wall.
So you were... Now, where were you... Just a sec. Hey! You're making this up as you're going along.
No, I'm not making this up.
Sure you are. Sure you are. I mean, nothing is worse than a woman being sexually abused. A woman says no, it's no.
That's right.
Woman says no, it's no. But I'm not convinced, madam, that you're telling me the truth. Because if you're going in to return somebody's jacket... You return the jacket, here's your jacket, I'm going to meet my boyfriend. You end up in the bedroom looking at etchings, right? Then you have a problem. Then I begin to question everything that you're telling me because even according to you, you ended up in the bedroom. Where were you doing the hugging and kissing and smooching?
In the living room.
And then right in the middle of the hugging and kissing and smooching, he said, I'd like to show you my etchings in the bedroom.
It's time to slow down.
Just a second. Then he said, I want to show you my etchings in the bedroom. And so you decided to go. Were you dressed or undressed when you went into the bedroom?
Dressed.
Fully dressed?
Mostly dressed.
Oh, give me a break.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
What you're telling me is you wanted to leave?
I wanted to leave.
She didn't want to leave.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. William Spadero says Ann Smith bit him. She says she was raped.
You spoke to the district attorney in this case. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And did you indicate to them that you wish to press charges in this case?
I decided to drop it.
Any particular reason?
Yeah, I'm not going to go through 2 years of court fighting over something like this.
May I add something, Your Honor?
Yeah.
The district attorney told me she had no
Don't
case.
tell me what the district attorney said. That's hearsay.
Okay.
Because, is it Spadaro?
Spadaro, correct.
Mr. Spadaro, you don't get any awards for gallantry, sir. Because according to your complaint, which I read, and quite frankly, as a woman, I wasn't too thrilled with, you said you really weren't interested in a relationship with this lady even before she came to return your jacket. But as long as she was there, you gave it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounded. It's not what you said, but that's pretty much what I read between the lines, right?
Correct.
And then you gave it a shot, and assuming that everything you're telling me is accurate, that you are lying in bed and she says to you, listen, we're going to be going out or we're going to have a relationship. And at that moment, you decide to tell her, I don't think we're compatible. That doesn't sit too well with a woman.
I told her prior to that.
Well, if you told her prior to that, sir, then you have to think with what's up here, not what's down here.
You don't have to go. I understand.
And you say, thank you very much for my jacket. Goodbye.
She didn't bring the jacket at that time.
Then you say, go get my jacket and come back when you have it. Do you understand, Mr. Spadaro?
Correct.
Instead of saying, well, I have nothing to do between the hours of 8:30 and 9:30, so, either I can have a bite to eat or I can, bed down Miss Smith. Not smart, not nice, not chivalrous, In any event, you can't bite him, Miss Smith. And you did bite him.
Top of me.
And you did bite him,
You didn't
madam.
let me finish telling you.
He was on top of you and what?
After he'd finished calling the police, that's when he grabbed me and he said, you're not going anywhere. You're crazy. I'm going to make sure that they take you and put you away. He grabbed me and then he threw me down and he forcibly sat on top of my chest,
and
holding both of my arms.
What you're telling me is you wanted to leave?
I wanted to leave.
You wanted to leave? Well,
Yes,
he wanted you to leave.
I wanted to leave,
Just a minute,
too.
he says he wanted you to leave.
I wanted to leave, too.
Why didn't you let her leave?
She didn't want to leave.
No, why wouldn't he let me leave?
Did you go to the hospital that day?
I went home. My pops came back with me to get my car, and I stayed in bed for a whole week. This ruined my Christmas. My daughter didn't get a Christmas. I ended up taking psychotherapy for all this. I have the bills right here.
You have your therapy bills from before this incident?
No, I didn't take therapy before this.
Well, in any event, whether you did or whether you didn't, I'm telling you that I doubt the veracity of your story. And that's what I'm here to do. Your story doesn't make sense. It's not common sense. It's not what happened that day.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
Well, it doesn't make sense for a woman to go over to somebody's house on their way to meet their boyfriend and to end up half naked, walking into their bedroom, looking at etchings, right? That doesn't make sense to me.
This is not a joke.
I'm telling you, I don't think it's a joke. That doesn't make sense to me, madam. That's what you want me to believe. You want me to believe that you were there merely to return his jacket as a friend. Right? That's what
Actually, I'm not here to have a good time. Okay. I'm not.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
In any event, your medical bills were $539, sir.
The emergency room. Then I had additional physician at the hospital. You had somebody did the blood analysis. Then there was a physician that met with me. He ran some HIV tests. But I'm sure all those bills are there, Your Honor. The different physicians.
You got $539. You got $80.
They had bitten.
You got $80. You got $71.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I saw it all. Part of this you are responsible for, sir. You exercised very poor judgment.
That's correct.
So you have to assume at least part of the responsibility. Don't you believe you do?
Sure.
Good. So I'm giving you $200. That's all.
Okay.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
think it's a travesty that something like this can happen, because when a woman says no, that means no.
It wasn't a rape.
No is no.
You know,
no
it
means
wasn't a
no.
rape. This girl was
Doesn't mean
consensual.
yes, dude. No.
This lady was consenting to the whole thing. That's why she had actually come over. She didn't return a jacket. She wanted to have the sex, and she wanted a relationship.
Year-old police officer Peter Harris is suing 57-year-old Nick Ice for filing a false police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested for assault.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 96 on the calendar in the matter of Harris versus Ice.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Mr. Harris, you are a police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that?
I work for the city of Los Angeles.
According to your complaint, you were in the performance of your duty, working one evening, responded to a call, and arrested the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And subsequent to that arrest, which you say was relatively routine, with the exception of the fact that the defendant resisted arrest.
Correct. There was a minor altercation.
But subsequent to that arrest, he lodged a complaint against you,
Correct.
which caused a police investigation, internal affairs investigation. And tell me why you want to be compensated.
Because his complaint against me was absolutely false. He had said that I had struck him in the knee with a baton after he was handcuffed. He not only made this complaint with the police department, he sent a 2-page letter to City Councilman Joel Walk's office, which is what started the whole affair and the whole investigation. He was then later brought in to the police station by my supervisors, was advised that and signed a complaint advisory form which states that he understands that making a false allegation against a police officer, he may be arrested and have charges filed against him under 148.6 of the California Penal Code.
You do not deny hitting him on the knee.
Oh, ma'am, I did not hit him on the knee at all.
You did not?
No, ma'am, he was never struck. He was taken to the ground, but he was never struck.
Okay. And that was before he had handcuffs put on him?
Correct.
And the reason he was taken to the ground is because he resisted being cuffed?
Correct.
Can I see his complaint, please? And tell me what happened to you as a result of this, Officer Harris.
Well, it was quite a long, drawn-out process. It took probably several months. I was quite edgy and irritable because of this. I suffered a lot of stress at home, at work. At times when it may have been necessary to use force against somebody, I may have been a little apprehensive in using that force, which could have been detrimental to my health.
How long have you been a police officer, sir?
8 years.
How many complaints have been filed against you in that 8-year period?
Civilian complaints?
Civilian complaints.
One. One
This
other
one?
than one other than
One
this.
other than this one?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long ago was that?
1991, ma'am.
And what was the outcome of that investigation?
I was found not guilty on all charges except for one, which was neglect of duty because I failed to properly document an incident.
And how many arrests have you made in 8 years?
Hundreds.
All right, sir. You were in a bar, you were playing pool? Listen to me carefully.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were in a bar playing pool.
I was playing pool. I was about 40 feet away. I heard a glass crash to the floor. We looked up, and there was a fist fight going on at the end of the bar, which is, I say, about 40, 50 feet away. Then 2 bikers took off quick out the door. We finished our pool game. Everybody was going crazy down at the end of the bar, so we just stayed away from it. We finished our pool game, and after that, I went and I sat down in the center of the bar. I said, "May I please have a bottle of Budweiser?" I took 2 sips. This officer walked up behind me, said, "You're under arrest." I said, "For what? I haven't done anything." He didn't say anything to me. He just cuffed me and started leading me out the door. Then I repeated this several times, that I hadn't done anything. What was I under arrest for? He didn't say anything. Then I was struck. I told him that I had 16 screws in my right leg. He proceeded to hit me in the left leg with his baton, I believe it was baton, and knocked my leg out from underneath me, and I fell forward onto the cement and received 6 or 7 stitches in the chin, which my doctor removed.
Don't play with paper, sir. He doesn't deny that you had injury to your chin.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. He did sustain an injury in the altercation.
And it's your testimony, sir, that at the time of this incident, you were outside. You had already been handcuffed inside the bar. That's
Correct.
what you say here. Is that right?
Correct.
And, Officer Harris, according to your papers, sir, fortunately for you, there was people taking videos of this incident.
Yes, ma'am. The entire incident was captured by the LAPD Life on the Beat film crew who was riding with me that day.
Were you aware of that, sir?
Yes, I was.
Have you ever seen this film?
No, I haven't. But
Well, let's see it together.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Somebody else was taken out of this bar, looked like the head was all covered with bandages, bleeding from the eye, right? Clearly there was a melee inside.
And later today,
I just miss my things. You know, they're precious memories that I don't have now.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Officer Peter Harris says Nick Ice filed a false police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested. Nick says Peter struck his legs with a baton for no reason, knocking him to the ground.
Have you ever seen this film?
No, I haven't.
You have it with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see it.
Hang on. I got to know what's going on before I can press any charges against anybody. What's happening? Nothing. I was sitting at the bar and she came up. Come on, John. I put my hand up to protect myself. The one turn for sunglasses. Turn your wrist down. Turn your wrist around now.
After repeated requests for compliance, the officers must use force in order to apply the handcuffs.
Hell, I'm not trying to do anything. For God's sake. What's the matter? Do you have any ID on you? You guys want to look at him, please? For God's sakes. I was standing there, mind my own business.
Well, first of all, Mr. Rice, I have the following comments to you, sir. From the sound of your voice on that tape, you had had more than just a few sips of beer that evening.
I hadn't had anything to drink before I came in, Your Honor, and I played 3 games of pool.
That's first. That is my impression of your slurred words. Second of all, you were clearly not handcuffed until you got outside. That's what that showed.
I made a mistake on that. Everything went so fast. I thought I was handcuffed before I was taken outside.
Mr. Rice, that's a big difference. Clearly, from watching that tape, you were escorted outside the bar. You certainly resisted having the handcuffs put on. They told you to put your hands back. You didn't. Doesn't look to me as if anybody hit you with anything. It looked to me as if Officer Harris twisted you and brought you down. Now, I don't mind looking at that tape again. You want to take a look at it again, sir?
No.
Huh? I
No,
didn't
Your
see
Honor.
any use of a baton, Mr. Rice.
The next morning, I woke up, and I couldn't even stand up. I was hitting the leg with something.
Just a second. Could we rewind that, please? I want Mr. Rice to look at it again.
It doesn't look like it on the tape.
Well, you're not suggesting that Officer Harris doctored this tape, are you?
I am not, no.
Press any charges against anybody. What's happening? Nothing. I was sitting at the bar and she came up.
See your hands, sir? They're clear. See, he's handcuffing you now. This looks like some fight.
Yeah, but I wasn't involved in the fight.
After repeated requests for compliance, the officers must use force in order to apply the handcuffs.
I'm not trying to do anything.
Now look.
For God's sake. What's the matter?
Do you have any ID on you?
Okay, that's enough. Thank you. Officer Harris, you were the officer who twisted him around. Is that right? It is clear, sir, that this gentleman, in the course of effectuating an arrest, trying to get you to comply and put your hands behind your back, you didn't do that. He twisted you around and brought you to the ground. Well, what you deserved. You're supposed to comply with an officer's direction. Unfortunately, I do believe, Mr. Rice, that the problem was you'd had more than a couple of sips that evening before he got there. So your memory is a little fuzzy about what happened. Now, Officer Harris is doing something that probably a lot of police officers don't do, which is sue civilly when you make a false allegation. Your allegation was clearly false, sir. I mean, I'm reading your complaint.
I was not in a fight. I didn't do anything except play game pool.
And Mr. Rice, that's not the issue, sir. The issue is not whether or not you were the victim of a false arrest. That's a totally different issue.